This is why Christians shouldn't boast. And this is also why the comedic science groups or people who follow that or are motivated by race of Egyptology should never boast. And when I say that, I say it in this meaning. Christians like to boast that Adam and Eve were the first people on the planet. They like to boast that they are the creators of civilization, that it is the children in the line of Seth down to Noah and then the children of Noah who were the ones who created civilizations and maintained civilizations. It is the comedic science people who like to say that Egypt was the earliest and first civilization, right in line with, at the same time, or slightly ahead of the people of Sumer. We call them Sumerians. But as archaeology continues to dig, we have to realize that there is never a reason to boast because new information is always coming out. Hence, Gobekli Tepe. Now, many people in the Sumerian Kemetic world like to say that Gobekli Tepe was merely a worship site. We don't know enough about it. But now that 10% of the site has been rediscovered, one of the most surprising things that have been found out is the fact that at this site of Gobekli Tepe, they had housing, they had agriculture. So because they had housing, because they had agriculture, and right now some of the thought process is that the hunter-gatherer groups went out, they hunted, they returned back. This was a site for religious beliefs, as with their monoliths would have constellations on them and other religious artifacts that have been found around Gobekli Tepe. And because of that, people thought that it was just a religious site, but there was no civilization built around it. And as I said, only 10% of it has been rediscovered. And it is presumed that the the size of Gobekli Tepe is actually more of a city size, for an ancient city size. So there's a lot more to be discovered. But what we have discovered thus far, which recently came out, is that Gobekli Tepe had civilization. They had housing. They had agriculture. This would put them ahead of the Sumerians. This would put them ahead of the Kemetic. This, as with most civilizations, put it ahead of the Hebrew, the Israelites. So what this means is that it's further information that demonstrates that the Bible is completely erroneous when it comes to the story of Genesis, that the people of Gobekli Tepe had civilizations as early as 9,000 to 10,000 BCE. This puts them a good 4,000 years about 3 to 4,000 years ahead of the Sumerians and ahead of the people of Egypt, ahead of the people of Cush even. So what does this mean? This means that the biblical stories, their beginnings is a lie. This means that the stories of Egypt and Cush, that they came after, that they could have very well borrowed their stories from the people of Gobekli Tepe. We don't know the names of those people, what they call themselves. Oftentimes we give them names that it was not the actual name of the people at their time frame. The Sumerian people didn't call themselves Sumerians. They call themselves a name that I cannot pronounce right now, but it means the black-headed ones. So it means that these people existed, had religion, had hunters, had gatherers, had a priesthood, had dwellings, had farmers, had animal husbandry. This is the beauty of archaeology. Although it flies in the face of most people's religions, it demonstrates that we just don't know what we just don't know until we dig and dig and dig and we find out more. So to hedge all your bets on one civilization just to make yourself feel good. Oh, I'm a Christian. I want to feel good about Genesis. Oh, I'm a Kemetic science. I want to feel good about Kemetic science. Yeah, it's not something that you should covet because history undoubtedly will change and you will lose your point, lose your position. This is why you must always remain open to new information, that whatever you thought before, you have to be willing to change it. If you go back and look at my videos from 7, 8 years ago, then you will see that I was saying that through Sumerians and the Kemetic people, the Kushite people, were the earliest civilizations, the first civilizations. And then more as I learned, I even started to broaden my ideas of what a civilization actually is. I don't care if there was 10 people living in an organized people group. That was civilization as far as I was concerned. That developed. So then the people of Kush and the people of Sumer no longer were the first civilizations. And then when the discovery of Gobekli Tepe happened, and the more information we got about it, I allowed myself to be able to broaden my scope of what we would call more city-state style civilizations, more technologically advanced civilizations, goes back further than the Egyptians, further back than the Kushites, further back than the people of Sumer. And because they had religions, it demonstrates that the first religion was not the Judaic religion. It is not the religion of the Abrahamics. That the first religions that we know of thus far was the worship of the stars in the skies, more of an astrotheology, and the worship of nature, more animism than anything else. So the more we discover, the more we learn. So always remain open to new information, and always remember that you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.